This is one of the biggest compact crossovers on the market. That extra third row, it's a nice feature to have. This is one of the most attractive compact crossovers out there. I'm a huge fan of the interior as well. It's got plenty of torque, plenty of pickup, very, very smooth.
Welcome to iDriveSoCal, the podcast all about mobility from the automotive capital of the United States, Southern California. Tom Smith here with the good professor, Mr. Clinton Kwan. Say hello, Clinton.
Hey, Tom.
Hello, my friend. This podcast is a vehicle review. The good professor, Mr. Kwan, went on out to our friends at Ontario Volkswagen in the Los Angeles suburb of Ontario, California. Just off the 15 there, and he picked himself up a Volkswagen Tiguan. And I've been eyeballing that Tiguan, I tell you. I recently drove the Atlas, and obviously the Tiguan is the Atlas's smaller sibling. But I've seen a Tiguan sitting next to a Toureg, and we talked about this a little bit. A lot of people love the Toureg. The Toureg's no longer, but it's still an awesome truck. But the Tiguan looks just about as big as the Toureg when you're looking at them side by side from the rear. Now, I know they're not. I know that the Toureg's still a little bigger.
Just a little bit bigger.
Yeah, but we were talking, and I don't think you looked this up. I didn't look it up. I'll bet with the enhanced engineering technology as far as interior goes, that the current Tiguan has more interior people and cargo space than the past Toureg.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Probably just a little bit of trivia, but nevertheless, to kind of bridge the gap of Volkswagen before and Volkswagen now.
And I think that's another reason why the Tiguan, the Toureg was discontinued. Because the new Tiguan is so much bigger. It's a little over a foot longer than the previous Tiguan.
Yeah, it's a much bigger vehicle. So at any rate, out to Ontario Volkswagen, picked up the Tiguan, thanks to our partners at Ontario Volkswagen, Mr. Earl Reed, General Manager, Randy Helcom, our go-to guy, Sean Bashian, General Sales Manager, Jim Straley, Service Director. Love everybody at Ontario Volkswagen. For all your Volkswagen needs, head on out to Ontario Volkswagen, just off the 15 in the Los Angeles suburb of Ontario, California. Now, that being said, Professor, take it away.
Yes, I drove the 2019 Volkswagen Tiguan SEL Premium, which is one of the top-of-the-line trims in the Tiguan family. There's, 6 different trims. If you include if you include the 4Motion trims, then you're really looking at probably 9 or 10 different trims.
They have something for everybody, the way that they section off all of the various trims. So let's go base to tippity top and all the variations as you can off the top of your head.
Got it. So we're going to start off with the base trim, which is the S, and that starts off at about $24,000.
Okay.
Then you move up to the SE, and that goes for about $27,000.
Okay.
And both of those have the analog cockpit.
Okay.
Then you move up to the SEL, which has the digital cockpit, and that runs for about $32,000.
All right.
Then there is an SEL R-Line, and that runs for about $34,000.
Okay.
And so all of these first 4 trims that I mentioned, they also have a 4Motion option.
And 4Motion is their all-wheel drive.
It's their all-wheel drive. It's like Audi's Quattro.
Right.
And that'll add about $1,300 to each of the trims that I just mentioned.
Okay.
Then you go up to the SEL Premium, and that comes standard with 4Motion. And that runs for about $37,000. And then the very, very top line is the SEL Premium R line, and that goes for about $39,000.
Now, the R line is basically a aesthetic sports package, meaning it's badging on the outside and in, but it looks nice.
It looks really
good.
nice, especially with those larger rims. You'll get the 19 or the 20-inch rims with that.
Yeah, I like the R-lines.
Yeah, the R-line looks fantastic. I really, really like the R-line.
So it's just the two top trims that come with 4Motion standard.
Standard equipment, yeah. You wouldn't be able to get that without the 4Motion. All the other trims that I mentioned previously, you can get it without the 4Motion.
You can get in two-wheel drive, and that two-wheel drive is going to be front-wheel drive.
Yes, correct. It'll be
but you know,
front-wheel drive.
hey, for $1,300,
Yeah.
might as well get it, I think, right?
Yes. Well, a lot of people, especially in California, they don't really need it. And most people who buy crossovers and SUVs now, they don't get the all-wheel drive. You do, you get a little bit of weight savings with that.
You get a little bit of weight savings, and you're a little bit worse off in fuel economy, which I want to get to in just a second. But to your point, because you always mention that, in LA, you don't really need it. And I agree. My first four-wheel drive vehicle SUV in LA, I had for 6 years, and I took off the road a total of 0 times. So, however, being from the Midwest, now present company excluded, you can drive. There's a lot of Southern Californians who can't, or not very well. My beautiful wife, I won't even go any further. But so with that in mind, and the rainy season and the very poor drainage that we have on the roads, for $1,300 and not a big difference in fuel economy, getting that 4Motion all-wheel drive, not a terrible idea for some people. Not a terrible idea. It's going to give you better control of the road, significantly more sure-footedness in certainly gravel situations, loose terrain, but especially the rainy, wet season, which we just had a heck of a one here.
Yeah, we had a big wet season, pretty big rainy season.
I just wanted to note that. But now getting back on track, fuel economy, what are we looking at?
We're looking at about 22 city, 29 highway.
Okay. That's solid.
Yeah, that's solid for a vehicle this big, because this is one of the biggest compact crossovers on the market. Probably the biggest one on the market among the compact crossovers. It even has available third row seating on some
That's
of the
right.
trims.
The Tiguan does have available third row seating.
Yes.
That's big.
That's big too. Yep.
That's a big plus.
Yeah, that's a big plus for a lot of families who want that extra third row when maybe they'll need it, once every few weeks or so, or once a month. But it's a nice feature to have.
Next, the outside. Take us around. What do we see?
Well, I think this is one of the most attractive compact crossovers out there. I love the clean, modern, contemporary design. It's very well proportioned. I think it looks great from every angle, whether you're looking at the front, the side, the back, the 3/4 front, or the 3/4 rear. I don't think there's a bad angle on this vehicle.
Agreed. 100%.
Yeah, big fan of the design.
The Tiguan, this is the second generation, is it not?
Yes.
Okay. And I think this generation looks exponentially better.
Oh, it
than the
blows
first generation.
away the first generation.
Right?
It's night and day. It does. The first one doesn't even come close to this one. Yeah, absolutely, exponentially better.
Inside.
The inside. I'm a huge fan of the interior as well. I really like what they've done with the interior. How the center stack, it's angled towards the driver. You know.
Yeah, you love that.
How I'm a big fan of that.
Yep.
So it's got that big screen. This one had the virtual cockpit. As we mentioned earlier, the upper trims have that, and it's got really clean, crisp graphics. I wasn't necessarily a big fan of this when I first saw it on a number of vehicles, but after seeing this in the VW, I was very, very impressed. And all the buttons, the controls, switches, they're all right there at your fingertips. So it's got excellent ergonomics, and there's plenty of space. It looks almost like an Audi inside, especially at the top of the line trims.
Yeah, Volkswagen. There you go.
Yeah, and I love the massive the moonroof as well. Gives it
that is big, right?
Yes, it gives it all. it makes it feel a lot more spacious inside.
So tech, we already touched on it a couple of times, but the digital cockpit, that is a big thing for Volkswagen. I think it's not only a big thing for Volkswagen, I think it's going to be a big thing for everybody in the not so distant future. I think Volkswagen's ahead of the curve on the digital dash, especially as more vehicles become hybrids and more vehicles become certainly electrics. The digital dash is just going to be, I think, the norm.
Yeah, well, you're seeing that in a lot of the luxury vehicles. So you're definitely going to see that in the non-luxury vehicles coming up. And I'm trying to think of another compact crossover in this segment that has a digital cockpit. And I can't think of anyone off the top of my head. I believe this is the only one in its class that has that digital cockpit.
The only non-luxury. I can't think of any.
Yeah, nothing. I can't think of nothing that comes to mind right now.
And before the podcast, I kept on telling you, let's call it the right thing. It's a digital cockpit. And then I just started calling it a digital dash, didn't I? Perfect.
Yes.
Good job, Tom. To explain what the digital cockpit does is, I mean, it's exactly what it sounds like. But instead of your two big circular gauges that you would have,
tachometer and speedometer,
right,
yes,
for your RPMs and your miles per hour, instead of those, it's a digital screen in either scenario, and highly configurable.
That's the big advantage right there.
Now, we don't have anybody in the Audi space that we work with or Porsche, but those are both in the Volkswagen family upstream.
Yes.
Do you know, are they big in digital cockpits right now already?
Oh yeah, Audi's definitely doing it.
So they've already been there, done that. So
that's why it's coming down to the Volkswagen lineup of vehicles.
That makes sense.
If you look at the A8, A7, A6.
And they've been doing it for a while.
More recently in the past several years.
Okay.
Yeah, the Q5.
Okay.
So the Q5 is the compact crossover from Audi. Very similar in size to the Tiguan.
All right. How to drive?
Oh, it drives great. It's got, I don't think we mentioned the engine. It's got a 2.0 liter inline 4-cylinder turbocharge.
And I meant to ask you about that. Are we across the board that same engine?
It is the same engine across the board on all trim levels.
Okay.
Yeah. It pumps out 184 horsepower, but more importantly, it cranks out 221 pound-feet of torque. So it's got plenty of torque, plenty of pickup, very, very smooth.
If you have that third row, all that torque will be put to use.
Yes.
But that is a lot of torque, isn't it?
Yes. And I felt like it had plenty of power,
right,
even though it's a big compact crossover vehicle. It handled very well. I actually drove it up to Lake Arrowhead up on the twisty mountain roads, and it handled well and plenty of power going uphill.
Professor. He's always taking his test drives some exotic Southern California location. I'm just like taking mine wherever.
I'm getting the full experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Professor is thorough in his vehicle reviews. Okay, so that brings us to the one thing that I think we need to touch on more in our Ontario Volkswagen vehicle reviews, and that is the Volkswagen People First warranty.
6 years, 72,000 miles.
Bumper to bumper.
Bumper to bumper.
Now, the key thing about that, it's
That's
okay.
the key thing, bumper to bumper.
Bumper to bumper, right?
Yes.
And I mean, lots of vehicles have 3 or 36,000 miles. So we're already doubling that, right?
Yes.
Boom. But the big thing is that not only is it double what most are, it's also transferable. That's big.
That's big, yeah.
So need to point that out. With that in mind, unless there's anything else at top 3.
Top 3, I'm going to have to definitely go with the exterior styling of the vehicle. As soon as I saw the new Tiguan, I was very, very impressed with the design. I love the way it looks, as I mentioned earlier, from all angles.
Yep.
Really clean, modern, contemporary design. Second, I'm going with the interior. I've been a big fan of Volkswagen Ergonomics for a long time, and they did another fantastic job. And this one, they decided to go really high tech with the digital cockpit, and they've got that really big screen for the navigation system. So that's really, really nice.
Oh, that's right. And on center stack, big screen.
Yeah.
We didn't even mention that.
Center stack, and it's angled towards the driver. So it's got great ergonomics. And then third, I'm going with the engine, especially with that torque. And then you're still getting great fuel economy especially for a crossover with all-wheel drive.
All right, very nice. Professor, thank you so much, as always. That was the 2019 Volkswagen Tiguan, as reviewed by our good friend, Mr. Clinton Kwan, a.k.a. the Professor. Our thanks, as always, to our friends at Ontario Volkswagen, just off the 15 in the Los Angeles suburb of Ontario, California. Mr. Earl Reed, General Manager, Randy Helcom, our go-to for iDriveSoCal, Shant Bashian, the General Sales Manager, Jim Straley, the Service Director, just a fine group of people out there at Ontario Volkswagen. We love working with you guys. For iDriveSoCal, I am Tom Smith. Thank you, Professor, and thank you very much for listening.
This episode was engineered and edited by Bobby Flores.
Howdy. Still here, huh? That's cool, but this one's pretty much done. But we have tons of additional content at our website, iDriveSoCal.com. If you're not listening from there already, you should definitely check it out. From there, you can subscribe to our newsletter, the podcast, or leave a note. And I'd love to hear from you too. Here's my email, tom@iDriveSoCal.com. That's Tom, T-O-M, at iDrive, the letter I, drive like drive a car, SoCal like Southern California.com. Tom at iDriveSoCal.com. Thanks again for listening, and please reach out with whatever's on your mind.